Step into a 1950s kitchen and you'll be immediately struck by the bright pastel colors, clean tables and chairs, and unique appliances. They bring a sense of freshness and optimism to the post-war era. However, many of the once familiar items have disappeared to the point where we forget they even existed. Today, let's explore 25 items that were the heart of every 1950s kitchen and see what they tell about a bygone era. Pastel-colored appliances. In the 1950s, a visual revolution took place. The first thing that would catch your eye upon entering a 1950s kitchen was the vibrant, cheerful color. Every appliance in the kitchen was dressed in pastel shades instead of a single, monotonous color. Housewives loved choosing refrigerators in powder pink, stoves in mint green, or mixers in buttery yellow. Pastel colors transformed these heavy machines into decorative works of art. For many families, getting a pink refrigerator or a mint green stove was a milestone, marking their entry into the modern world, an image frequently seen in advertisements in Better Homes and Gardens and Life magazine, reflecting the post-war American dream spirit. Each appliance not only served for cooking or food preservation, but also contributed to creating a cheerful living space where every meal was prepared in an atmosphere full of happiness. Patterned linoleum floors. Linoleum floors with cheerful patterns were an unmistakable feature of this period. Unlike the cold, hard tile or stone floors of today, linoleum felt warm and soft underfoot. Many people still remember the sense of relief when they accidentally dropped a plate and it didn't shatter into pieces because the resilient surface of linoleum saved it spectacularly. It was a choice that was durable, easy to clean, and affordable, fitting the budgets of many families at the time. Linoleum was also loved for its friendliness. Children could comfortably sit, play, and crawl on the floor without fear of getting cold or hurt from a hard impact, truly making the kitchen a common living space for the whole family. The black and white checkerboard patterns, inspired by bustling American diners, became a popular choice, bringing a sense of energy and a touch of nostalgia. Other patterns like polka dots and diamonds also strongly reflected the mid-century modern design style. More daring families chose vibrant colors like cherry red or sky blue to make their often small kitchen spaces pop. One of the symbols of technological advancement in the 1950s kitchen was the push-button stove. Compared to traditional mechanical knobs, instead of having to turn a dial to adjust the temperature, housewives could now just give a gentle press to a row of silver or black buttons lined up neatly on the stovetop. The feeling of using them was like operating the control panel of a spaceship. Advertisements of the time often depicted women in graceful, full-circle skirts, smiling as they pushed a button to start dinner, then leisurely spending time with their families, no longer struggling with cumbersome stoves. Moreover, these buttons were not just for turning the cooking zones on and off. They also integrated an automatic timer function, an incredibly modern feature that made cooking more precise and safer than ever. The stove was no longer just a tool. It had become a statement of modernity, gradually liberating women from the heavy chores of the kitchen and bringing them convenience and joy in their daily lives. The heart of cozy family meals in the 1950s was the Formica and chrome Dinette set, a perfect combination of practicality and aesthetic appeal. Formica, with its glossy surface and a wide variety of colors, was hailed as the miracle material of the era. It was stain-resistant, scratch-resistant, and extremely easy to clean, an ideal solution for families with young children. You could find tables in all sorts of bright colors like turquoise, baby pink, or lemon yellow, paired with matching vinyl upholstered chairs. The table frames and chair legs were often made of shiny chrome, creating a modern look with a bit of a roadside diner flair. The image of a family gathered around a Formica table has become a classic memory. Dad reading the morning paper, Mom sipping her coffee, and the kids happily eating their cereal before school. The squeak of the vinyl chairs as someone sat down or stood up became a familiar sound, a part of the symphony of family life. These Dinette sets were often placed right next to a kitchen window to make the most of natural light, creating a bright and cozy dining area where people shared not only meals, but also stories and laughter. Before clear plastic containers became common, Tupperware revolutionized food storage with its sets of translucent plastic containers in gentle pastel colors. Their most unique and memorable feature was the airtight burp seal. When you pressed the center of the lid to push out excess air, it would make a distinct, soft pop, a cheerful sound signaling that your food was safely sealed. This was not only a clever solution to keep food fresh longer, but also brought tidiness and organization to the refrigerator with its perfect stackability. But Tupperware was more than just a product. It was a cultural phenomenon. Tupperware parties became an essential part of the social lives of women at the time. Here, they not only shopped, but also had the opportunity to socialize, share housekeeping tips, and even establish themselves as home entrepreneurs. Women were trained in sales and persuasion skills and built their own communities, creating an independent source of income and boosting their self-confidence. Therefore, these Tupperware containers held not just leftovers, but also the stories of the changing role of women in society. Drop an OK in the comments to let us know you're still enjoying this trip back in time. If there was one item in the 1950s kitchen that was both beautiful and versatile, it was definitely Pyrex dishes, bowls, and baking pans. Owning a set of Pyrex in pastel colors and delicate patterns was considered a must-have for any stylish housewife. Collections like Primary Colors, with its 4 mixing bowls in blue, red, yellow, and green, became indispensable items in millions of homes. Other special lines like Gooseberry Pink, with its pink gooseberry pattern or butterprint, featuring an Amish farmer and a rooster in turquoise, were even more beloved. What made Pyrex so magical was its incredible heat resistance, allowing it to go straight from the oven to the dinner table without needing to be transferred to a separate serving dish. This not only saved time and cleanup effort, but also made the dining table look more beautiful and elegant. Today, these vintage Pyrex pieces have become highly sought-after items for collectors, with some rare sets valued at hundreds or even thousands of dollars. They're not just cooking utensils, but pieces of history, reminders of a time when every household item was crafted to be both durable and timelessly beautiful. Flour and sugar canisters. To keep the kitchen tidy and baking ingredients always within reach, nothing was more important than a set of flour and sugar canisters. But in the 1950s, they weren't just simple storage containers. They were decorative pieces carefully chosen to match the kitchen's dominant pastel color scheme. You could find sets made of exquisite ceramic, painted tin, or shiny aluminum, each beautifully labeled with cursive words like flour, sugar, coffee, and tea. Instead of being hidden away in a cabinet, they were often displayed proudly on an open shelf or countertop as a way to show off the homeowner's refined taste. Some aluminum canisters were even embossed with intricate patterns, adding a touch of elegance and sparkle to the kitchen space. Opening one of these canisters and smelling the aroma of flour or coffee became part of the daily kitchen ritual. They not only kept ingredients fresh, but also served as a reminder of the abundance and coziness of a home that was always ready for a batch of fragrant baked goods or a hot cup of coffee. These rectangular aluminum trays had a very distinct design with a metal lever running along their length. Once the ice was frozen solid, you just had to lift the lever, which required a bit of force, and it would make a loud crack sound, breaking the bonds between the ice cubes and helping them pop out of the tray easily. That sound, along with the clinking of the ice cubes falling into the sink, became a part of many people's summer memories. Before modern refrigerators had automatic ice makers, this was how you made cool ice cubes for a glass of lemonade on a hot summer day. But the uses for these trays didn't stop at making ice. Clever housewives used them to freeze broth, herbs, or baby food into convenient small portions. Many mothers even used the trays to make hard caramel candies or to freeze coffee into small cubes to add to milk, creating a delightful cold drink. The simple aluminum ice cube tray was a testament to the resourcefulness and creativity in making the most of what you had. Bread box. In the 1950s, bread was often bought in whole loaves or baked at home. Because of this, families usually had a bread box to keep it fresh. These boxes were typically made of painted metal or wood with a classic roll top or flip top design. They were placed in a prominent spot on the kitchen counter, often next to the radio. The main function of the box was to keep the bread ventilated, which helped slow down the process of it getting stale or moldy, especially before plastic packaging became common. But for children, the bread box was a mysterious treasure chest. A small joy each morning was sneaking a peek inside the box to see what Mom had put in there for the day. Sometimes it was a warm, freshly baked loaf of bread. Other times it was fragrant cinnamon rolls or even a few cookies as a surprise treat. Many boxes had a wooden tambour-style roll-top door that could be slid up and down smoothly and quietly. Some mischievous kids even turned it into a secret candy stash, since parents rarely paid attention to what was hidden behind the loaves of bread. Jell-O Molds. Jell-O, the colorful, jiggly dessert, was a star on the 1950s party table, and to create these gelatin works of art, special Jell-O molds were essential. These molds were usually made of aluminum, copper, or glass, and came in countless unique shapes like rings, stars, fish, or complex multi-tiered towers. Making Jell-O was a way for housewives to show off their creativity and skill. Magazines and cookbooks of the era were filled with Jell-O recipes, from sweet ones with colorful fruits to unique savory salads with vegetables, celery, and even tuna or chicken. While the taste of these savory salads might be debatable by modern standards, there's no denying they were a significant part of the culinary culture of the time. Preparing a splendid Jell-O mold for a dinner party or a family gathering was a fun and proud endeavor. And the moment of flipping the mold over to reveal a perfect creation always brought oohs and ahs of admiration from everyone. Manual hand mixer. Before electric mixers became a common and affordable appliance, whipping eggs for a sponge cake or mixing dough for cookies required quite a bit of elbow grease with a manual hand mixer. This device had a fairly simple construction with a metal body, a crank on top, and two interlocking beaters below. The clicking sound of the metal as you turned the crank became a familiar background tune on many afternoons, especially when someone was preparing a birthday cake. Kids would eagerly ask to help their mom, even if it was just for a few turns, and would giggle with delight as they watched the batter start to fluff up. This manual mixer was a symbol of diligence, of food made with love and effort. It harks back to a slower-paced era when the process of preparing a dish was just as important as enjoying it. The memory of getting to taste a little bit of batter left on the beaters remains sweet in the minds of many to this day. Wall-mounted can opener. After the war, canned food became an important part of the American diet. And the trusty sidekick that helped moms easily open those tough tin cans was the wall-mounted can opener. Instead of fumbling with handheld openers that were easy to misplace, this device was permanently mounted to the wall or the side of a kitchen cabinet, always in an easy-to-find spot. With its sturdy metal construction, including a gear and a sharp cutting blade, it made opening cans much easier and safer. You just had to clamp the rim of the can in place, then turn the handle, and the lid would be cut off smoothly and cleanly. Its convenience and durability were undeniable. No batteries, no electricity. It was always ready to work. This device was especially useful since tin cans back then were often thicker and harder than they are today. Having a wall-mounted can opener in the house also gave it a professional feel, like a diner or restaurant, a testament to the fact that the family kitchen was also equipped with the most efficient tools. Do you remember any of these items in your family's kitchen? Share your memories in the comments. In the 1950s kitchen, the telephone wasn't just a communication device. It was the family's lifeline. Back then, the most common version was this wall-mounted rotary dial phone. With its heavy-duty Bakelite body, usually in black or ivory, it was securely mounted on the wall, often near the breakfast nook. Its most memorable feature was the round dial with small holes for each number and the distinctive whirring sound as the wheel returned to its starting position. But perhaps the most familiar image is the long coiled cord. This cord was long enough for a housewife to talk on the phone while keeping an eye on the soup on the stove, getting a glass of water, or even rummaging through the refrigerator. Important conversations, rare long-distance calls, and daily gossip all happened on this phone. Sometimes, The whole family would gather around to listen in on a call from a distant relative. The wall-mounted rotary phone was the communication hub of the home, a keeper of countless emotions, from joy and sorrow to the important news that shaped family life. Coffee percolator. The morning ritual for many American families in the 1950s wouldn't have been complete without the rich aroma and distinctive gurgling sound coming from a coffee percolator. This shiny metal pot, usually stainless steel or aluminum, had a unique design with a small glass knob on top. Inside was a central tube and a filter basket for the coffee grounds. As the water at the bottom boiled, it was forced up the central tube and spurted out over the top, then trickled down through the coffee grounds, repeating this cycle over and over. The perking and gurgling sounds of the hot water rising and falling became a signal that a new day was beginning. You could look through the glass knob to watch the color of the coffee and know when it was strong enough for your liking. This was a slow, ritualistic coffee-making experience, relying on experience and the senses rather than the precise technology of today. Coffee brewed in a percolator was often very strong and bold, enough to awaken even the sleepiest souls, getting them ready for a productive day. Recipe boxes and handwritten cards. Back in the day, before food blogs and online recipe websites, there were recipe boxes and handwritten cards. These boxes, often made of wood or tin, were where the family's culinary heritage was carefully preserved, passed down from one generation to the next, from grandmother to mother, and then from mother to daughter. Inside were dozens, even hundreds of cards, with recipes for everything from grandma's roast chicken to mom's famous apple pie. These cards were more than just dry instructions. They were living journals with stains from grease splatters, traces of flour, and faded, scribbled handwriting that had aged over time. Sometimes you'd even find little notes in the margins like, "Add a little more cinnamon," or "Dad's favorite." Each card was a story, a memory of family gatherings, holiday celebrations, and the love that was poured into every dish. They were a kind of Facebook cooking group of their time, a precious legacy that connected generations and kept the traditional flavors of the family from ever being forgotten. Today, we take electric refrigerators for granted, but in the early 1950s and before, many families still relied on the icebox. This was essentially an insulated cabinet, usually made of wood, with a separate compartment at the top for a large block of ice. The cold air from the ice block would slowly sink down, keeping the food in the lower compartments cool. Life with an icebox was tied to a familiar figure, the iceman. A few times a week, the iceman, with his signature metal tongs, would carry a large block of ice on his shoulder, walk through the backyard, and place it in the cabinet. Kids would often excitedly run after the ice truck, hoping to get some ice chips to suck on to stay cool on hot summer days. The icebox symbolized a simpler, more dependable way of life. There were no smart apps or complicated notifications. It just needed ice and a little effort to work. It taught people about appreciation and planning, as you had to use your food wisely before the ice block melted completely. Coil electric stovetops. Another familiar sight in mid-century kitchens was the Coil electric stovetop. Instead of the flat glass surfaces we have today, the stovetop consisted of metal resistance coils that were raised above the surface. When you turned on a burner, these coils would heat up and glow a fiery red, looking like miniature furnaces. Underneath each coil was a metal drip pan to catch any food spills. Although cleaning these pans could be a bit of a hassle, this type of stove was beloved for its incredible durability. You could accidentally drop a heavy cast iron pot on it without damaging the stovetop. Something unimaginable with today's fragile glass top stoves. If a coil broke, you could also easily remove it and replace it with a new one for a very low cost. This simplicity, sturdiness, and ease of repair made the Coil electric stove a reliable companion for housewives for decades, witnessing countless family meals prepared with dedication and love. Punch bowls. Parties and gatherings in the 1950s wouldn't have been complete without a magnificent punch bowl. This was an essential item, usually made of clear glass or crystal, and large enough to hold drinks for all the guests. The bowl often came with a long ladle and a matching set of cups, creating a harmonious and elegant set. Many crystal punch bowls were considered wedding treasures, a precious gift that was only brought out for special occasions like Christmas, Thanksgiving, or New Year's Eve parties. The punch recipes were usually quite simple, but very appealing, often including lemon-lime soda, fruit sherbet, and sometimes a little light rum to enhance the flavor. Placing a full punch bowl at the center of the party table was not just about serving drinks. It was a way to create an attractive focal point, adding a touch of classic charm and encouraging people to gather and chat. It symbolized a spirit of community, hospitality, and the joy of sharing. Corningware. Launched in 1958, right at the end of the 1950s, Corningware quickly became a favorite in kitchens across America, especially with its iconic cornflower blue pattern. What set Corningware apart was its pyroceram glass ceramic material, a technology originally developed for NASA's space program. This material gave it incredible durability and the ability to withstand sudden temperature changes. You could take a Corningware dish from the freezer and put it straight into a preheated oven without fear of it cracking. Ads from that time even showed it being dropped from a height without breaking, emphasizing the unbreakable message. The ability to go from the refrigerator to the oven to the microwave and then straight to the dining table made it an extremely convenient choice for busy housewives. The simple yet elegant cornflower blue pattern became an iconic image, evoking feelings of warmth, familiarity, and reliability. Built-in kitchen radios. Music and news were an essential part of daily life, and in the 1950s, they were often brought right into the heart of the home through built-in kitchen radios. Instead of a bulky tabletop radio taking up space, these units were designed to be compact and cleverly installed right under a kitchen cabinet or mounted directly on the wall. With their classic speaker grill and two simple knobs for tuning and volume, they delivered sound without taking up precious counter space. In the morning, the sound of AM/FM stations playing news and popular rock and roll hits became a companion for many housewives as they prepared breakfast for the family. Throughout the day, from baking a cake to preparing dinner, the radio was there, providing cheerful tunes and making kitchen chores less monotonous. It created a sense of connection to the outside world, a warmth and companionship that didn't require the complex software updates or internet connections of today. Dining nooks. Inspired by cozy cafes and diners, breakfast nooks, also known as dining nooks, were a much-loved design feature in 1950s kitchens. Instead of a freestanding table and chairs, a breakfast nook usually consisted of a small table and two benches built into a corner of the wall. This design not only created an intimate and cozy dining space, but also saved space effectively. The benches were often upholstered with shiny vinyl and cheerful colors like red, yellow, or turquoise, and sometimes even had handy storage compartments underneath. This was where the familiar morning rituals of American families took place. Dad sitting and reading the newspaper, Mom sipping her coffee, and the kids happily eating their cereal. The dining nook was a versatile space, both charming and practical, encouraging togetherness and intimate conversations, turning everyday meals into memorable bonding moments. A unique architectural detail that has almost completely disappeared today is the milk door. This was a small cabinet built through the exterior wall of the kitchen with two doors, one on the outside and one on the inside. This clever design allowed the milkman to place fresh glass bottles of milk into the cabinet from the outside early in the morning, and the homeowner could retrieve them from inside the kitchen without having to open the main door or interact directly. Similarly, empty milk bottles would be placed in the cabinet from the inside for the milkman to pick up on his next delivery. This not only offered convenience, but also ensured safety. For children, the milk door was a magical thing. They loved opening the inside door to find cold, dewy bottles of milk waiting for them. It was like a small morning prize, a reminder of an era where personal relationships were valued, when the delivery man knew your family's name and service was brought reliably right to your door. Have you ever seen or used a milk door? Type yes or no in the comments, and if you have, please share your memories. Built-in flour sifters. Baking was a daily activity in many 1950s households. And to make the job easier and neater, some modern kitchens were equipped with built-in flour sifters. Instead of using a handheld sifter, this device was a large hopper installed right inside a kitchen cabinet above the baking prep area. This hopper could hold several pounds of flour and had a built-in sifting mechanism, usually operated by a hand crank or a lever. When flour was needed, the housewife just had to place a bowl underneath, turn the crank, and a stream of fine, clump-free flour would be sifted directly into the bowl. This invention helped minimize flour dust from flying everywhere and kept the kitchen counter clean. It was a symbol of an era when every housewife was a baker, when homemade bread, cookies, and cakes were everyday treats. Back then, every detail in kitchen design was aimed at supporting the passion for cooking. Rolling pin drawer. The thoughtfulness and attention to detail in 1950s kitchen design were also evident in small yet incredibly refined features, such as the rolling pin drawer. Instead of a regular flat drawer where the rolling pin could roll back and forth every time it was opened or closed, this drawer was specially designed with a concave, curved bottom that perfectly cradled the body of the rolling pin. Some more meticulous designers even lined the inside with soft felt to keep the rolling pin from bumping around or making noise. This small detail showed a deep understanding of the baking process and a desire to create a tidy, organized workspace. It helped keep this important baking tool safely stored and easy to grab whenever needed, making the task of baking more convenient and enjoyable. Kit Kat clock. The iconic black cat clock with its side-to-side shifting eyes and a tail that wags with every second. The Kit Kat clock was a fun, decorative item that fit the optimistic style of the 1950s and was often hung on a kitchen wall near the breakfast nook. First introduced in 1932 but soaring in popularity in the 50s, this clock appeared in many sitcoms. The shifting eyes gave the feeling that the kitchen had a soul, and it is still in production today. This clock was not just for telling time, it was an American pop culture icon, bringing smiles and playfulness to the kitchen space. A reminder that life should have its moments of fun and whimsy. To this day, the Kit Kat clock is still being produced, a testament to the timeless appeal of a simple yet optimistic and cheerful design. Even though many modern appliances have replaced them today, these small items from the 1950s still hold a special place in many people's hearts. They bring back images of simple but loving meals, and they recall the smiles and laughter in a small kitchen. This video is just a short journey, but hopefully it has sparked some beautiful memories of your grandparents' or parents' kitchen. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to continue joining us on our journeys back in time.